gentlemen. Welcome back once again to yet another weekly installation, semi-weekly, roughly, when we don't feel like taking the week off, that is. The Mod Zoo weekly hangouts. This week is a topic that's near and dear to both Bill and I, the old Pimp Rig days. And we put the invitation out, and we were hoping that we were going to get a number of folks that we used to converse with regularly then. And the invitation's still hanging open for more people to possibly join in during the hangout as we go along. But we did get one nibble out of the people that we put out. But before we get to that introduction, Bill, say hi to the folks.
Hey everybody, glad to be back. We had taken a break last weekend for the Labor Day holiday, and today, don't forget, never forget 9/11. Actually, I was reminded I was going under an underpass, and there was two fire engines that had their ladders extended all the way with a flag blowing in the wind with a rope between it, and people up on a bridge of flags. So that was pretty awesome. This topic today is, as I was telling Drew earlier, it's an emotional one to me, because when I think about these days, I look back on them. It was really what made me what I am when it comes to this hobby today. It was before I started my business. It's what taught me about this hobby, and the biggest thing is that it taught me about how to have or create friendships online with people from around the world. And I didn't even know what HTML coding was, to how to post a photo in a community forum, and I learned all this stuff on PIMPRIG.com. And unfortunately, the site had disappeared a few years ago, but I've still got a close network of friends from Pimp Rig, and two of these guys right here, Jeremy and Vernon, longtime friends, and it seems like Pimp Rig is a tie between us that will never go away, just because it was such a big part of our lives, where you literally would check in every day to this site to see what was going on, like people do social media today, but it was a community forum, and it was like your vehicle to share your hobby that you were so much into, because your local friends had no idea why you would be taking apart computers and putting windows and lights in them. So it was like a community you could go to and relate to everyone. And I think you guys could relate to that from where you come from. Drew being from Maine, and Vern, you were from Kentucky originally. There wasn't any PC modding going down on Main Street. So
that brings us to our, right now, first guest, our only guest. His name is Vernon. We used to know him as Twisted.
Yeah. Otherwise known as the LED guy. Anything LED, I could do it. Or would try very hard.
And oftentimes we learned, I don't know how many electronics lessons in the way as you were learning them too, and just sharing your love for the craft.
Yeah. To this day, I have not met anyone else that does custom PCB boards like Vern can do. They're just amazing, really.
I do miss that a lot. I've not been able to do that for a number of years, just simply due to not having anywhere to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Where I used to, me and Phil used to have our shop in the back of a computer store,
mm-hmm.
And once that store moved, and me and him didn't have a shop there anymore, that just kind of started dwindling down. And I think the last custom thing I ever did was for you for the frozen CPU case.
Oh yeah, you created the PC board for the actuator arm to lift and close it, and I was all freaked out when we created this thing. It was like this big mechanical jaw that opened and closed. I was very concerned about making it safe in case some curious fingers were inside of it messing around when it closed, because there was some sharp edges to these ribs that were in it, and you created a way that if it recognized if anything was obstructing it, it would open back up again. And it was so nice to be able to have somebody I could call upon that knew how to do that, because I don't know anybody else who can.
Yeah, I started dabbling with microcontrollers and stuff, and anybody that knows microcontrollers probably knows what an Arduino is. And it's a really good platform for doing that kind of stuff, and that's what I used to actually do that was an Arduino, um, and I thought it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, it was
It,
awesome.
it, it worked great.
You know what else you helped? Remember when we did the AMD project and you created the CPU speed tachometer?
Yep,
Yeah, that's
I
another
do.
badass thing. Everybody's like, "Where do I buy that? How do I order it?" Well, you don't realize how much time went into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I can't remember. It's been probably last year sometime. Somebody actually contacted me for the code for that again.
Did you give it to
I,
him or say no?
no, I gave it to him. I still have it. I kept it on my Dropbox just so I would never lose it.
That's great. See, that's an example right there of what Pimp Rig was. Oh, dude, you need it? Here it is, right here. Oh
I
yeah.
still get people contacting me probably on a 2 to 3 times a month whenever they find the video that I posted on YouTube of that to show you.
Mhm.
And I think it was that. Yeah. And
Mhm.
then I also posted the video of actually having the actual tachometer, the needle tachometer, where it would go to certain points on it and then back. Because originally I thought you wanted to use the actual tachometer, not LEDs.
Mhm.
And they come to me and ask me how I made that work, and I usually end up sending them, albeit it's old now. The Arduino IDE has changed, but it still can work.
Mhm. We'll have to share that clip later on if we can. We can just share a clip. But what we should do is talk about the history that we know of PIMPRIG and how it was started, about when, and why did it disappear. And as far as I know in the history, I believe it launched in 2002. I'm not quite sure if that's correct.
I think it was earlier than that
Earlier
because
than that.
I think anyway. I could be
Okay.
misremembering. You're talking to somebody who has a very shoddy memory sometimes.
Uh,
But I met Phil in 2000,
mm,
and I'm pretty sure it was on Pimp Rig.
okay. Okay. Yeah, the problem is since all we have to access is the web archive of screenshots taken, screen captures taken, it's spotty on the history of things. Um, but it was started by Gary Mullins, whose screen name was Glitter Kill, and I don't know. Maybe Vern, you may know why Gary started the site. As far as I know, Gary's history was he was a web dev and a graphic artist, and he saw it as just something to do for fun on the sideline to reach out and meet other people that were into building computers and graphics and coding and stuff like that.
Hmm. Something like that, I believe. It, I came into it late in the game, as far as the community was concerned, in my opinion. I think it was around for a little while before I actually started getting on there, but I was there for most of it.
Hmm. Yeah. But do you have a better idea of why it ended though, and what happened though? I mean, from what you know, Gary had to change the name from PimpRig.com to PC Apex. And what's funny too is that you know that show Pimp My Ride. That show didn't launch until 2004, so that was much later than PimpRig. He had changed the name to PC Apex because it sounded more politically correct when he was
Professional.
reaching out to vendors for samples and stuff because the vendors are like, Pimp Rig, what else do you guys do over there, huh? Nudge, nudge.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think it was to just give us a more professional look, professional sounding name, um, yeah, with all the negative connotations that come with pimp.
yeah.
You know, and I think that was more or less the reason, and I think that was part of kind of the, I don't want to say the downfall of it, but I think that's when it started taking a downward, you know, turn. Is when we actually changed our name. A lot of people disagreed with it.
It wasn't the same anymore.
Nope.
No,
No.
it didn't have it, and I think there was. By the way, Drew pulled up the the first archive of PIMPRIG.com was June 30th, 2001. So the thing to me, it's always been Pimp Rig, and when it was PC Apex, it didn't feel the same anymore to me. And I'm sure it was a decision that Gary had to make because if Gary's like, if I'm going to be investing all this time into it and the hosting costs, that he felt at the time it was the right decision to make because there may have been that particular vendor could have been. I don't know who. Maybe it was Nvidia or like a big name or something, like one of the big, Asus or whoever. He was just trying to expand the hardware review catalog for the public. And what PIMPRIG was it was not only a hardware review site where it had a staff of volunteers that wrote reviews on new products and articles like do-it-yourself articles. Like Vern, you contributed some stuff to the do-it-yourself articles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite a few electronic things,
Mm-hmm.
Wiring guides and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But the heart of PIMPRIG was it was the community forums. That was where everybody was from all over the world. And this, to me, was the first official PC modding and PC building community. I mean, you had other sites too at the time. You had Hard OCP. They weren't really known for like custom mods like as much as PIMPRIG was, you know. And for me, I was all about the mods. And I don't remember how I probably discovered PIMPRIG through its case gallery. And what I'll do is I'll do a screen share here of what you can see, just a peek at the thumbnails. And unfortunately, I can't really expand the thumbnails because they weren't captured by the web archive. But it was the gallery that first attracted me in a search, and then I decided they had a forum, and I joined it. And this was like the very first official online community forum that I had joined. And I'll say this about Gary, he was an amazing coder because he had so many cool features that you don't even see today in forums.
Yeah, that was one of the things that somebody had linked to the caffeine machine from, I can't even remember what the news conglomeration sites that I was going to at the time, but it was like an early version of Dig or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over to this site, Pimp Rig. Okay, that's an interesting name. What's going on? And then I saw it was a later revision where it was Phil's tribal flame designs that bordered the entire page, and that came in 2002, 2003 or so, and I ended up just poking.
I remember that.
Find the little, like you said, primarily it was the community. There were a few really interesting writers. Dark Samurai would have almost a daily, a short blurb either. He would put in 2 or 3 good full text pages of something either hilarious, or he would be digging around and doing commentary on the tech news of the day or different things like that. And it was an altogether just a fantastic package. Later on in the run, we were discussing earlier, John Watts, who he's now known as I Bleed Inc. on Tumblr. He started Cubicle 101, short-lived, well, I don't want to say short-lived, he actually ran it for a few years, webcomic that he would share with us first.
Yeah, there was I think because Pimp Rig had started so early with this hobby, just as this hobby exploded, that it attracted some talented people and also very unique people from, again, around the world. There was I know people in remote places where Pimp Rig was their one pipeline to just to corresponding with somebody online. And yeah, we have all kinds of resources for that, but back then you didn't, and so there's just so many people. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a screen share of showing the stats at that time. I think what was the year? Let's see. 2003 in February. There was 8,553 members, and on that day at 11:59 a.m. there was 132 users in the forum at the moment.
Look at some names, man. That's a flashback. Duck Warrior.
Yeah, yeah. Big Akita, he was a moderator. He was going to join us. He still may join us today. Thrasher 2, I'm still friends with him today. Hawkeye Pierce, I remember that name. You recognize some of these names, Vern? Whoops.
Your mic's cut out, dude. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, Glitterkill, Thrasher 2, T2,
Yeah.
Solid Necro. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got to meet Anthony Thrasher 2 in 2010 at CES. That was a blast. Meeting somebody that you knew online for years, and this was after the forum had disappeared, when it wasn't online anymore. So it was like meeting just like a longtime friend. You know, it was just. Yeah, it's been hard, when the forum disappeared and a lot of people dispersed. Like this is like when Facebook was early days of Facebook. Some people gravitated to Facebook, but even today they very, very rarely even log in, check in. And I sent some friend requests to people, and they still haven't checked in to see their friend requests. And but there may be a chance that we can do this again and have those people that missed it come back.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I was just gonna say, speaking of people, you've met that you've known for years. You remember Word Biker, Eric Suttles?
Yeah.
Finally gonna get to meet him in person. He's coming to my wedding.
He's in Colorado, isn't that where he is?
Yep.
He's gonna drive up here, huh, or fly?
I think he's flying up. Yeah.
When is your wedding?
Sunday. Next Sunday. A week from today.
Well, also mention Loki, that was also a very involved member on the forum that I'm friends with. Phil, he couldn't make it today, but he could still possibly make it. He's going to be your best man at your wedding.
Groomsman, yeah. Kind of funny story. We decided to not go with any kind of title like that. It's just groomsmen and bridesmaids. She couldn't pick between her sisters, and I couldn't really pick between, the him and my other guy. So
Yeah.
But anyway, I am in Wisconsin because of Phil. He got me up here. I met him on, I'm pretty sure, I keep on wanting to say PC Apex, PIMPRIG forums, because basically I posted up a very cookie cutter Chief Tech Dragon case that I'd painted, and I hadn't done much to it. And somebody lit into me on the forums, just dogging me because that ain't a mod, blah blah blah.
Whoa.
And Phil went into Big Brother mode and tore them a new one. And me and him just became friends after that. And
that's great.
Yeah, I ended up coming up here for a LAN party in 2004, and then came back a couple more times, and before I ended up moving up here. And yeah, now I run it. Boom.
Now you run it.
All in.
AWOL.
So.
And where exactly is that, and when is the next one, Vern?
Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And the next one's October 21st through the 23rd. And there's still seats open if you're, interested.
How many people do you usually get?
Last couple, we've only had maybe a couple handfuls of empty seats, and we can host up to 142 gamers for 54 hours straight. Albeit I don't suggest trying to stay up that long. It's not easy, especially for an old man like me.
What do you do? Just sleep in your chair, or bring a sleeping bag?
A lot of people sleep in their chairs. The facility that we're at, we're in an indoor fun center. type place. I'm sorry, my phone keeps going off. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But we're in an indoor fun center type place, and they can go out and sleep anywhere they want there. We're actually attached to a hotel, so you can get a room, which I highly suggest. Just for it's nice to be able to get up half dead from gaming for 24 hours, walk down a hallway, face plant into a bed, and then get up, 4 to 6 hours later and do it again.
So, what is like the farthest distance somebody's traveled to come to your land?
California.
California?
Yep. It's about
Whoa.
two events ago. A friend of a friend came from California. We've had people from North Carolina. Actually, I had a friend. He lives in Washington, but he was in Germany at the time. He flew from Germany into MSP, came over to here, went to the LAN, and then went back and flew back home to Washington. So we were a pit stop on his way back from Germany. So technically, that's the furthest.
So he just bring a laptop then to game?
If I remember correctly, he had a pretty decent laptop.
One of those Alienware briefcase things?
Yeah. Yeah, back when they literally needed a briefcase to carry them.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't you guys have like case mod contests too at your LAN?
We did a couple times. Phil kind of put those together for us, and we've also had the ugliest case contests, which we no longer do anymore because
why? There was too many entries.
No, because people would make their computer ugly in very, very disturbing and loud ways. We even had a guy literally lay his computer down and jump on it once and caved the site in on it. And it's
really?
like, why would you do this?
So the prizes must have been pretty good to take a risk like that.
No.
No?
It was a cookie cutter case. I can't remember who it was from.
Dell, HP. So.
But it was just not a very good case. I mean, albeit they were wrecking like an HP of some sort.
Yeah.
But it was worth it to them at the time. But I just, yeah.
That reminds me. Go ahead.
No sleep comes in.
Yeah.
Very poor decisions get made.
Well, this is one of these events is where Phil claimed he drank a case of Monster Energy.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Oh, you didn't see that?
Well, he's drank a lot of those, and like he's won up until probably 3 years ago. He was the reigning champ, albeit he never actually claimed the prize. He was just doing it to do it at 2 a.m.
Enjoyed it.
two at 2 challenge. You slam 2 Mountain Dews 2 o'clock in the morning. Try to get everybody up and buzzed again on a little bit of caffeine. And he was the reigning champ because he could boom boom. Albeit he did monsters, but no, he drinks a lot of Monster.
Dude, that would give me a heart attack.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sure, your sugar content alone would kill me.
All right, that reminds me, talking to Lance, when you came here and we did the Midwest Modders meetup, and we had this idea of having an auction. You could auction off your old PC hardware that you brought to the LAN. This is an opportunity to get rid of that crap, make a little pocket change while you're here. And this is what I'll never forget, man. You brought a Mountain Mods cube, with the UFO to...
It was the UFO, yep.
Dude,
that was a piece of Pimp Rig history right there because that was Gary's.
Oh, dang it.
Did I not tell you that? That was the UFO that he had custom built. 3 slits. He had this 3 slits in it, and the dragon meters that he had made in a little acrylic case for, so it would light up kind of like a little laser line. Albeit that got lost a long time ago in a move, because it fell out. But yeah, that was Gary's at one point.
Well, I mean, a UFO, I mean, that was like $300 case at least, wasn't it? Back in the day.
$399, I think, is what that one retailed for. But that was, like I said, customed. So.
Well, it had a custom black gloss paint finish on it.
It was powder coated.
Oh, powder.
And Gary had put mirrored flames on the insides of the windows, albeit it started to peel because it was years old.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, this is what's crazy. So you brought this thing with a bunch of other hardware to this event,
Mhm.
and we're doing this auction, and this is what blows me away. Somebody scored that thing for like dirt cheap. What was it?
Yeah, it wasn't much.
$25 or
25
something.
bucks, I think. Yeah, 25 bucks.
And I'm pretty sure he still owns it today. That was Joseph Flowers. He's a local customer here, and he would remind me that, Bill, I still can't believe I got that for $25. And the thing is, if you're not familiar with mountain mods, and they're still around today, and we're actually going to have Ben Rising, the guy that created and started mountain mods, um, on our Hangout in the future. These things were just these behemoth cubes, and it was the first of its kind to be an aftermarket case for custom builds versus finding a server, and gutting that out and modifying it.
Yeah, that one was actually 18 inches cubed. It was a pretty decent size. That's part of why I got rid of it. I'm not gonna lie, I do too many lands to carry that big of a case around anymore. Actually, that one was on the news because there was a news cast here at one of the land parties, and you can briefly see it in the video.
Oh, that's cool. Right now I'm on mountainmods.com. Everybody watching this, if you've never heard of Mountain Mods, go to their website, because not only do they make these cases, these are made in the U.S. He also offers a bunch of really cool case parts if you're into scratch building or modifying your own case. Like he offers slide-out motherboard trays you can buy, PCI slot brackets, a lot of great stuff. But these UFO cases. The thing was that Joe was saying, like, this is awesome, but I'll never have the money to afford all the hardware to fill up one of these.
Yeah, that one. Also, the like the hard drive trays in that one and everything were chromed. Glitterkill had those chromed, which it's not something that would have been factory that way. And that when I had that thing fully loaded at one point, I think I had 6 Velociraptors in there in a stripe with 2 other drives. I had a lot of stuff in there, and it was set up for a heck of a water cooling loop.
I was gonna say you
Yeah.
basically built yourself a space heater at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had pictures of it.
Then we did Gary, because Gary was going to big LAN events. I know that while he was running Pimp Rig and PC Apex, and I know that when we did the Pimp Rig tribute build, which was also that was polished aluminum. He went to the Million Man LAN, wasn't that it? Million Man LAN.
Yeah, that's down near him. That's in Louisville.
Okay. Yeah. Just crazy. So this guy's actually got 2 of these UFOs stacked.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that makes a statement. When you walk into somebody's office and you see that as their personal computer, it's like, okay, and what is your computer? Yeah, it's
I'm counting 1824 fans. That sucker's got to be loud.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is one of the UFOs is the one that's just ridiculous, where it's like literally just perforated. It's like this.
We were looking at that the other day because somebody was showing off a hard drive mount, 3-bay hard drive mount that attaches to the fan.
Yeah, and that's made by Ben in his shop here. Let's see. It's under. Is a clever way you can add a 3.5-inch drive. If you no longer have space for one, you can mount it onto a 120 millimeter, 140 millimeter fan.
That's nice.
Yeah, pretty clever. Considering Ben basically he has a laser cutter and a bending brake. So let's say you're doing a scratch build. What's the hardest thing to make is the PCIs. This would be for an ITX one, but he's done the work for you, so you don't have to go and cannibalize one from another PC chassis. You can order it from Ben, and that's $25.99. I mean, that's for a scratch builder. That's going to save a ton of time.
Yeah, I was gonna say earlier that was one of the things that I loved about Mountain Mods from the beginning was you could pick up a motherboard tray from him, and it would it wouldn't be significantly cheaper than buying a case to chop up, but it would be cheaper because
Yeah.
you could always get a throwaway case for $30 to get the motherboard tray out of,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be
Yeah,
that.
but you buy a
Right.
throwaway case, and you're gonna kind of get lower quality too.
Yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, he uses, I mean,
It's
it
aluminum.
depends if it's aluminum or not. But
Mhm.
even whenever he had steel stuff, I mean, it was substantial.
Yeah, it's 1.65 millimeter thickness, so built tough.
Yeah.
Made in the USA, all this stuff here. And again, we're going to have him on the Hangout. We're looking at sometime in September. Currently, I think it was October. He's moving his entire shop. He's in the process, so when he settles down, he'd love to be on with us. And that'll be really interesting because what Droog and I are doing is we want to bring in guests that made substantial landmarks in this hobby, like over the last 15 years, where they've either brought a product to it or they've done some type of work. They had a big following, and so that's what we hope to do with future episodes with this Hangout. But hey, Vern, I wanted to ask you, when you were doing did you do any product reviews for Pimp Rig while you were there?
Yeah. Yeah, I done a few reviews and started doing the basically proofing of the editors and stuff at one point. And I've been trying to find some of this stuff. After you guys talked to me the other day, I started racking my brain of where can I locate some of that old review material, because I kept it all. I know I have it. It's just a matter of where. But I done a few cases. I can't remember it. I think I had one of those really, really early all-in-one water cooling kits.
Do you know what, Thermaltake or something?
I think so, maybe.
Big water.
Yeah, actually, and I think that might have one of those ones that had that stupid Peltier in it with a fan, and that was part of the loop to try to cool the water down, and it was just it wasn't very good.
Little factory, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that Apivia case that I showed you guys earlier, that was something I had gotten to review. That little Apivia MATX cube.
Oh yeah. Which actually, let's see if I can pull up some pictures here. Was at its time when it came out. God, what year would that have been? Like 2006 or 7?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
It was a pretty dang clever design. Let's see. I think this is it. Show. The one thing I didn't like about it, though, Vern, is that the material they used was really thin and flimsy.
It was. That's one thing I was going to say. If you hadn't got to it, I was going to say they were fairly shoddy.
Yeah.
For a better way of saying it. It was just.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a clever design, though, and it actually had the motherboard tray would slide out through the back.
Yep. Yeah, that's an even newer one. Looking at that picture.
Yeah, I think we had
that blue one right there. That blue one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it had the handle right on the front. You could lift the handle so you could carry it. That was pretty slick.
It was slick. Scary with this case, but slick.
Yeah, if you didn't fasten down your motherboard, it would fly out when you pick up the whole thing. I had done my buddy was a big Simpsons fan, and I did a Simpsons tribute, and we anodized the chassis blue, and the exterior was yellow, and it had a Homer engraved on the window on top, and he was in his underwear eating the donut, which was totally appropriate Homer. We use that, and I just remember saying that it's such a great design, but damn, it's like they used tinfoil for the construction.
Yep. Yeah, this one I got for review. It was in 2006. So you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that. Sometime in 2006.
What was your fondest memory, guys, of when you were at Pimp Rig? Was there one thing that really still sticks in your mind about when you remember there?
For me, it was when I came in, actually, when I got active, I should say. There was a tool, God, what was his Texoid or something like that, was trying to pass bum checks.
Vern remembers that.
Oh
And
yeah.
I came into the conversation in the forum, and I'd been ghost reading for like 2 years, and really got a feel for the family dynamic of the forum long before I dove in. And this kid, man, just went did the dumbest damn thing you could, trying to rip off a good friend of Brett's, Big Akita's.
Uh-oh.
It was the dog that hauled him down. And he tried defending himself. He tried coming back with 3 or 4 other things. People started posting his address, his photos of his house, just dogging this kid bad. I mean, he any chance he ever had of joining the community again and not getting treated like shit, he just shot himself completely. And that was when I jumped in, because I'm just like, what the do you think you're doing, you damn moron? And because what I'd watched for 2 straight years was a community of people that if you asked them for help, they would rip their arm out of its socket and hand it to you as an assistance. And if this kid was dying for money, that's all he needed to do was say, hey, I'm kind of screwed right now. Can anyone give me a chance? Do you know of any jobs that I can do? Just anything. And people would have figured out how to help him. And instead, he had to try to scam someone.
Yeah.
What was the screen name again?
TEKXZOID is what I'm remembering.
That sounds about right. I remember him because I used to talk to him until he started doing that stuff, and it just yeah, that was interesting. Whenever you said that, I'd forgotten all about that.
Yeah,
and it's like, holy crap, boom, all popped right back.
Yep, that was my first time actually diving in and I mean I dove in feet first into the fray. And friggin' Brett ended up was like, man, I like this kid. Let's keep him around. And that Loki's mom specifically actually hunted me down, and she drugged me kicking and screaming into the Folding at Home program.
Mm.
I think she did that with most of us.
Which I want to get into. I told Drew this talk about it. I've never done it. I want to start doing it because I've got a shop here with power, and I can build a rig and just have it running, folding. Mm-hmm. What a great excuse to build a rig if you've got extra hardware guys and gals folding that home. And Drew, we could actually do a hangout on it.
Yeah, I probably not run out of people that would want to join from the EVGA team, because for us, it's I almost want to say, it is our religion, man, because everyone has lost somebody to something that the Fold program is trying to solve. And it's diabetes or Alzheimer's or cancer, flu. There's really no end to the science that we're attacking. And
oh, wow.
It's really... And when the people used to do it over at Pimp Rig, I remember we were fighting... Oh, wow, there's some flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
We would get... Because we were doing it primarily on CPUs, we would be, as a team, pushing 1,000 some odd points a day or something like that. And now, the team that I'm a member of, we're pushing 150 million points a day.
Mm. What's the name of your team, Drew?
It's just Team EVGA. If you go to the EVGA forums, there is a distributed computing sub-forum. They do the Folding at Home program, and there's also the BOINC, which is a larger, less centralized distributing computing.
This is another thing that... Oh, okay. I'm here in Minnesota. We're like... And Vern relates. He's in the Midwest, too, and we're in this Rust Belt. They call it the Rust Belt. Another thing that was great about Pimp Rig is that you got to meet really interesting people from around the world. And Ben Zenzo, this guy right here, that looks like a salty fisherman. This guy was a character. What's some stories about Zenzo you guys can share?
Oh, that
the first guy that did the ice cube and put direct die water cooling on an AMD processor, like
Yep.
blasted water directly over the die of the processor.
Yep. Oh God, yeah. He well, how many processors he ruined at DK? Yep. Set up just right.
And then he learned about HVAC and started doing, phase change, and it was just going from there.
Oh, he did a coast-to-coast tour building customized phase change out of air conditioners for people.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember who it was, but one of the forum members, they set it up on his desk, and the first time they turned it on, they didn't weight it down properly, and the torsion of the compressor flipped the case off the desk. So they had to go back in and put cinder blocks into it.
That's so funny. Man, do you think we would find anything in a search? I don't know what we're going to see. Anything you come up with before. There's a car called the Zenzo without one of the Z's, but that's about it. This is the problem again. Please, if you're going to create content on the web, don't ever let it disappear. Renew hosting, please.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's cheaper by the multi-year.
Now this is interesting too. Barry Digital World Snyder right here. I talked to him this morning. He was going to join us, but he had a family emergency that came up, unfortunately. But Barry, you had some pictures of one of his builds that he did, Droog.
Yeah, let me get that going here.
Yeah. Barry is funny. He's like, man, I haven't been in the computers for so long. I've just gotten into building custom bikes. So that's what he's been doing after Pimp Rig. He builds custom bikes now on the side while he's working for Ford Motor Company, building engines for them. And I'm like, dude, that makes total perfect sense that you'd be building custom bikes because it's that same kind of mentality, you know? Customizing stuff.
Let's see, is that share going through?
No.
No, of course it's not. Windows 10, man. The modern apps are hit and miss. Let me see if I can pull this up in another viewer.
Yeah, the thing, and back to Brett Big Akita, he was like the head moderator on the forum, and you could have a jackass drop into the community at any time and like try to pull shit, like take advantage of people like selling crap, not shipping it to them after they got the money, and it got to the point, I know there, when some people that had bad reputations, that Brett would actually register on other community forums and make an announcement, hey, you guys, you got to watch out for this individual, or this individual is a crook. And he had such a huge reputation throughout the community that when he spoke, people listened. If Brett was there, it was legit, you know?
Here was something that I noticed. Get a look at that water block, man. There's no fins. That is just raw flow.
Is that a danger den? I'm thinking.
That is a danger den, yeah.
It is.
One of the things, one of our early topics that we had, we were discussing, or I kept bringing up, the evolution of water cooling that we watched, and the wars that people would go through of their what is the ideal water block going to look like? Do you need the narrow fins? Do you need wide?
Right. Big tubing or small tubing?
Turbulence.
Yeah, turbulence. Turbulence was one of the big things. And
yeah.
So people who would take apart the blocks and add the little dip underneath to try to create the more turbulence, or carving the spiral channels into things to get
Yes, the early days, and I miss that innovation from the garage.
Yep.
And I'm not seeing it today. I know there's like little pockets of some people out there, but I'm not seeing it presented to a wide audience through just a handful of people that everyone follows. It's hey. I guess because that was the early days of innovating this hobby, and things have gotten so much more refined now, and you know.
I think too what bothers me most about not seeing that innovation, even if it is repeating what has already gone, it's still learning those lessons of the iteration. I mean, I would love to see somebody who has their own mill, like Cheaps especially. You know, take a block of raw aluminum and go, okay, if we do this, these are the results. But then if we go back in and
Hmm.
this,
The time, yeah, the R&D on it, and all that shared, so you can watch all that, which could still possibly happen. But the thing is now that there's just so many retail options for people.
yeah, it's not that it's that time, the time and effort to go into it. Nobody wants to make that
Yeah,
exchange.
yeah, um, mm, yeah. Vern, what was the last PC that you built, man? Are you still building PCs over there?
Uh, Customized, not so much. I'm sitting here with a Corsair 200D or 250D.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's a nice case.
So, oh yeah, I like it. It's nice because it's a nice small form factor and has enough room in it for everything I want to do.
That looks like you got a.
Well, I would say it is a little customized. I could show you guys if you
Okay,
wanted
yeah,
to.
let's see it.
Give
You
me
also
just.
got a vinyl film plotter there, it looks like.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do all kinds of vinyl stuff and stencils, and there's my wall. Let's see.
Nice. I like that wall.
Let me see if I can get this top off with one hand. I did do the wiring on this. This is the one thing I did do with it.
Oh, that's right. Vern, you sleeve the Pimp Rig Tribute power supply.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I actually did that in Gary's living room.
here's the thing. Vern was sleeving power supplies before it was even a niche business that it is today. He was sleeving stuff before there was even like all these shops and options for buying sleeving.
I'm not mistaken here. You wire loomed that, didn't you?
I did.
Oh,
It's
that's
paracord and it's loomed together, so it actually, I don't know if you can see that, but
It's beautiful.
yeah. That wire looming is something that you used to see in the classic power distribution boards that see very often anymore. But that is
yeah.
gorgeous.
And it's modular, and because this is so small, and well, ATX power supplies have such long cables, that I actually redid all the power cables. I bought, this is probably $100 worth of pins and everything and wire, and none of the wires in here are the original power supply wires. I made all new wiring for everything just because I wanted everything to be just long enough to reach the motherboard. So it basically, I don't know if you can see it, but it just comes right off the power supply, up in a loop, and goes in.
Yep, it's efficient. Yeah. Yeah, because of the small space you're in. Yeah, and I remember you were in my shop and you were starting to sleeve the Pimp Rig Tribute build.
I think I did some of it, but I did some of it in his living room because I was down there. If I'm remembering correctly, my memory is it's not that great. Oh God.
That's Phil Loki in my shop, and this was what 2000. That was 2007 or 6.
There I am. Holy crap.
Yeah, this is funny. When you guys came into town, the deal was that I would take you out to a steak dinner.
Nope.
Wasn't that was that night, right?
I think so, and I think what was it called?
J.D. Hoyt's.
No, I think we went to somewhere. No, maybe we were just talking about Buco something or other. Or I don't know. Phil went crazy whenever he heard it, but yeah,
Right.
we went out for dinner that night, and
This is funny. So we arrive at this place. It's downtown Minneapolis. Okay, it's a little swanky. We arrive. These guys are. I don't even know if this was that night or not, but you guys had like the cut-off sleeves, and Phil had his bandana on, and I walked in there, and it looked like it looked like I was the manager of like a wrestling team, like tag team wrestlers with tag team wrestlers. These guys are massive, huge guys. I'm skinny, and it was just like the oddest thing to see. And everybody just turns and looks at us, and then we sit down, and you guys order these massive steak meals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
Offer us the food, man. We're gonna take
I'm like, whatever the build. So we're looking at Danger Den. It's sponsored the Pimp Rig tribute build, and this build was cool in that it was 2 individual PCs and 1 full tower, and one side was a server, so Gary could take this anywhere and host a LAN while playing on a separate PC in the same tower. So it was 2 systems in one, and they're both individually liquid cooled. I got this really cool Enermax tower. I can't remember what model it was, but it had an aluminum bezel from the factory on it. Check that out. Danger Den, man. Another company that disappeared, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And this was funny because this was the very first time I'd ever seen Tygon tubing. Okay, the 5 1/4 bay res acrylic. Those were notorious for leaking. Just an FYI. Tygon tubing.
Yep. I can't remember what degree you could take it to before it would actually start, pinching off. It's pretty tight, though.
Yeah, even then, if you had some coil that you could shove in there, you could get that stuff wicked tight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It's good stuff. The OD is like an inch. Is that like an inch OD?
Pretty big.
Okay, yeah. This is Vern working on the custom PCB board for the LEDs in the front bezel, and you can see the bezel there it was cast aluminum. Vern, you just got back from the war, man.
It's so weird to see myself that long ago and that big ago.
Yeah. This was so cool. There's actually a separate video where Vern does a tutorial on how you create a custom PCB board. Mm-hmm. Look at me. I'm even skinny and I got hair under that baseball cap.
This was back when I had about 2 feet of hair to go along with all this.
Yeah. It's so funny, man. So, have you gotten any new tattoos since that tattoo you got?
Which one? Oh, you're talking to me.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah. And John Watts drew it for me.
That's cool.
I have the original print right there. That's
nice.
That's the pinned print that he done. And then that.
Well, you just knocked out your mic again.
Here's
there we
go. Loki had customized the power supply shell. I've forgotten all about this and how much detail had gone into this build. I wonder how many watts that thing was. Do you remember?
That is a PC Power and Cooling 750 silencer. I'm pretty sure I still have part of that power supply.
And this is what's cool about Phil is he did everything by hand, man. All of his cuts.
Oh yeah, I have a good story about that.
Lay it on us.
You know the tribal that he done? In fact, I can show you what it kind of looked like because I have been looking at this for the past couple minutes on my screen.
Here, I'll pause that.
It's the tribal that goes around the border of this.
Oh, kick ass.
And if I know it, I want to say that this went into that rig, but I can't remember.
Oh, I don't remember either.
But the tribal that goes around the edge of that on both sides, he cut that out of a piece of case panel. It was steel. And it was fairly small to go in to this. I think it actually replaced that little bitty flame, or maybe it was on the side. It was on the side of the power supply. And he was in the back of the shop cutting that, and all of a sudden I hear him kind of yelp. And it's because the Dremel caught. There it is, right there. I think that's maybe the second one. I don't.
Dude did that with his Dremel.
Yeah, he did that with his Dremel. At one point, he was cutting it, and the Dremel caught it and wrapped it around his finger.
Oh.
Like hardcore, wrapped it around his finger.
Was he was bleeding, I would presume.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
So
man.
blood, sweat, and tears went into that.
Yes. Yeah. And what was cool about this project, it was a community project where everybody had volunteered money towards the budget so we could get everything for it. This is also unique too, the Kawasaki rotary tool kit. I had never seen one before. So there's the chassis there. Look at that tower, man.
Yeah.
That was
Powder-coated.
one that was like 2/3. It was divided 2/3, 1/3, just about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had a 1U power supply for the server motherboard on the other side. It was like the biggest tower I could find.
It was a beast of a tower.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome, man. And it's just so funny. I mean, that tower, I don't even know what year that was from, maybe like 2004 or something. So here we jump to 2007. What's going on here? Oh, we got it powder coated, the power supply cover. And wrapping everything. Isn't this funny? It's like watching this old silent movie. Yeah, this was great, man. Yeah, powder coating, and I'm amazed that they didn't screw that thing up there at the powder coater.
Yeah,
I'm actually wearing a watch. I'm wearing a watch. You are watching Mod Zoo Mystery Science Theater with Droog, Twisted, and myself, and we're watching the. Okay, so there's the current status of the tower. There's that aluminum front bezel, and then there's a mesh grill that I put in there that was cut out. There's also billet wheels on it. Those were Lian Li. You could get those from Lian Li, and then what we did is we made custom wheels for it and used O-rings for the rubber traction. Spring latch front door on it. Oh, there's see, Pimp Rig.
Off the little spinners, yeah.
Oh, then the early billet handle in the back for the slide-out motherboard tray. That was slick, man. Yeah, it's cool. Polished, all polished up.
Getting lost in flashback, man.
Yeah, and so what I did is we milled the Pimp Rig logo on one side panel and then the PC Apex one on the other. I think some of us were still in denial about PC Apex, and we're like, okay, well.
We'll live with it if we have to, but come on, it's always going to be Pimp Rig.
So there's the 1U. Check that out. That was from Seasonic.
So that was right down there, yep.
And I think it was, oh man, I remember, like it was 500 watts maybe. What a shaky camera guy I was.
Oh, come on, no, you were going for artistic.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's the PC Apex. Like, so that is eventually going to get milled into the aluminum side panel, that logo, and it'll be recessed into it. And I remember I hand polished the panels in the front bezel, and took a lot of time. Here, I'll move up here. There's the other side panel with the PR logo. I don't know why did I do that? Now looking back,
I think you cut that out so you could see the power supply.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Oh man, here's Phil. So Phil comes back with Vern back to the shop for an update on things. I think that's when we went downtown. Yeah, because you guys look like take team wrestlers. You got a bald head, shaved.
I shaved my head now.
Yeah. There's the power supply shroud. before modular. Look at that phone too. What was that phone?
I'm not.
What phone, anyway? I'm looking around your shop and not seeing the
Oh,
MP3 PC that you'd put up later.
I want to
Oh,
say
yeah.
that's an HTC Wizard, which
Is that
was a
yours?
Windows phone. I believe that one was mine. And that thing was a brick.
Oh man, look at this! Look at this kooky thing. Oh, we had gotten icy docks, hot swappable. Look,
Oh, yep.
okay, and the woman is sleeping on the couch back there, everybody, and I don't know who that is. Who was that?
That was. We brought Andy over with us, also known as Raptor. That's his wife. She just kind of sit down on the couch and passed out.
Okay. So at this point, the bezel door had been milled with the tribal, and that was when tribal was huge.
Wow.
Oh man. Oh, there's the Ghost Rider PC. It was up on the wall. The MP3 player from hell.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, as you guys came for that when we turned it on for the first time.
Yep, I put the LEDs in its eyes.
Yeah. It's just funny. Oh, check that out. Panaflow aluminum frame Panaflow from the server back in the day. These were the big deal because you could polish the frame.
Well, and those suckers would take a finger off if you weren't paying attention.
Oh, yeah. Loki stuff. I think okay, so there's the LED that Vern made, the PCB. Those icy docks are pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
And you were going for individual drive activity per drive?
I think that's what we did on that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Bought us some space. That's why we went with that. It's because of all the, we got two separate systems in this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, now I see where you were remembering the sleeveless part. I forgot about those shirts. Ugh.
Why am I run? I can't even run this in a better resolution. I'm sorry, everybody. That's as good as it gets. Okay, that's the Danger Den was selling those water pumps. And I don't even really know who the manufacturer was. Somebody in China was making these pumps.
Yeah, 12 volt was the big thing. Was not having to have a separate controller card to control a 120 volt pump was a big thing at the time.
And I remember those pumps were brand new on the market, and I was a little bit leery about using it because it really hadn't had a reputation yet.
Well, it's one of the first ones that stepped away from being just a reboxed aquarium pump, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing what I didn't like about them is that the threads where the barbs were plastic, so you could torque and strip them if, by accident. So there's the PC Apex after it got milled. Now that's all got to get polished later by hand.
You poor bastard, you.
When we were talking about doing this hangout, I'm like, does Gary still own this thing? Do you know? We don't know.
Man, no idea.
Sitting in his garage.
I don't know, maybe his daughter got a hold of it and threw it down a flight of stairs.
It would have survived.
Probably took out a few walls on the way.
So here's Phil. He's going to attach the accents.
Did we light that up?
You know what, man? I don't think what happened because is that Phil took it home to work on it, and didn't he send it to Gary later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sleeving, like I said, I think the sleeving was all done at Gary's place. Mm-hmm. When I went down to visit my parents, and they live in southern Kentucky, and it was only like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive over to Nashville. where I went to do that, and that's also whenever I picked up that UFO.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I remember
Who's that
laughing about was
That was Raptor.
found out that Vern lived in Kentucky after I moved out of Kentucky to come back to Maine.
This is my old shopmate's products, Kickboxes, and I believe Performance PCs still sells his radiator grills, and he did this for this build, the top. And I got to tell you, look at the year. This was posted in 2007, but a 240. We were doing 240s before most people were 240 radiator grills. That was I believe water jet cut from steel, and then what he would do is he would powder coat them. So the case is finished.
This is like the beauty shoot down in the parking lot.
Yeah, and this was like Eric, who's still he builds custom bicycles, Peacock Group. Oh man, he's actually skinnier there. He came out and checked it out. If you're into racing bikes, mountain bikes, or these fat tire bikes, Eric builds custom bicycles, Peacock Groove. Check him out online on Instagram. He's still doing it today. He's got a huge shop here. And I knew Eric would appreciate the custom work on it. Yeah, that was a window for it to show off Phil's power supply. Tribal grill on the back.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that one. Because that was how Bill and I ended up hooking back up about 4 years ago. I sent him a quick message about the some of the fan grills that he had put on this, and like, yeah, can you do custom work like that anymore? I was like, man, we don't do that anymore, but let me see what I've got on the shelf. And he started showing me photos of things that he was putting together with his overkill ring and everything, and so we just started shooting the shit again. And next thing I know, I am hosting this show for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, again, Pimp Rig was such a big deal in our lives. You just can never forget that. And we've actually, people that are still from Pimp Rig that are still building and modding have joined the modzoo.com, our forum. So if you're watching this, you're still into this hobby, you're looking for a place to share your stuff or just reconnect with some of us, you'll find some alumni in the modzoo.com forums. Wheels along. Yeah. So I'll have to ask when I connect with Gary what happened to this thing. It's just a little piece of our history. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was always most upset about, was I didn't have the money at the time to throw at that, so my name isn't on that little front panel.
Yeah, but Drew, now you contribute in so many other ways now. So, yeah, that we are just 10 minutes over. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Well, I mean, there's no end to what we could dive into because it was just such a huge community. Again, what we did, you were showing off, Vern, earlier. Can you pull up that little image of the undercut that you had drawn up there? And
oh, yeah, give me just a second here. I've got to go back to that. And
because that's one of the things Bill and I were discussing in one of the earlier Hangouts, probably one, like the first or second, was what made, to me, what made Pimp Rig so special is that we would get just long strings of where we would, yeah, this stuff right here. We would create images and little, walk-through stuff and mark it up back and forth in Microsoft Paint. And so that would be how we would work through the thought process in these threads of helping somebody solve a problem, or in this case, he's demonstrating to somebody why you couldn't leave a board that you're etching in the ferric chloride for too long because the chemical's going to get underneath your trace and just pull all the copper off. But, yeah, that to me, that was one of the most fun parts, was how the conversation would evolve and all of the dirty little tricks and tools that we would use to get our ideas across to each other, because we didn't have the full 3D module stuff that we have today, or to throw something together, and CAD just wasn't something that we did. We actually saw the growth of what's Google's tool there? I can't remember now, but people started in SketchUp. There we go. People started creating the libraries of motherboards and hard drives and the cases, and now you can go out and you can find entire libraries on SketchUp. So you don't have to create anything. You just throw in the serial number or the model number of whatever it is you want to have in your 3D model and plug and play. And we we had to fight with that stuff, pencil sketches and all that. Again, MS Paint, that was the most widely used video edit.
Yeah, I bet if I dug down enough through my archives, I've got pencil drawings of circuits that I worked on with people. I've been kind of going through stuff, but not really had to. Oh, well, here's something else. Trying to show somebody how to wire up a toggle switch. And little things like that.
Yep. Now, mind you,
I could use that, Vern.
I was going to say, Bill, you had quite a few people asking you about that, if I remember our recent conversation.
Yes. That's the same exact question.
I'm pretty sure my MS Paint skills were a little off. I don't think you can close the cap on that at all.
Permanently open safety toggle. Vern, what is your YouTube channel so we could see that tachometer in action?
Oh, let me
see that again. This was so cool. So I don't recall what year it was, but I did this for Dirt Showdown of AMD for the game launch. They had me modify a fractal design case, and what we did is I wanted to have a tachometer on it for the CPU speed, but I just didn't want to do a traditional analog style of the needle, and so I asked Vern if he could create something that have LEDs that would go around. So what I did is I grabbed a speedometer. I don't remember what brand it was, the housing, and gutted it out and then sent it to Vern, and he created a new PCB board with these LEDs. And
all right.
Find it.
Message not sent. I can't send a web address in the YouTube chat for a YouTube channel.
Oh no!
Oh no! Yeah, just share it in here. We can share it for you.
Yep. No worries. That's a link to that exact video, and you can get to my channel from there. Which there's not a whole lot of electronic stuff on there. There's a whole lot of quadcopter flights. So.
So you're still tinkering with stuff, man.
Always tinkering. There's also a video of me testing the is it Frigeli?
Oh yeah, the actuator.
Yeah.
Was it Frigeli? Frigeli? I don't remember.
Frigeli, Firgelli, I think. Yeah, I don't know if this shows the backside of this or not, but it was all pseudo surface mounted. And
let's see here. So, what did the color zone signify again, Vern? Do you recall?
It was well, I wanna give you a good answer to that, but I don't remember.
It was cool. I do. And then the shift light, which is the big red light there, that would be hard drive activity or power.
I want to say it doesn't come on whenever it goes to full 100%. The gauge, if I remember correctly, was CPU load.
Mm-hmm.
which it pulled through some Magic Voodoo with USB and LCD Smarty actually, to get that information. And then I think the LED was hard drive activity, the large, and I'm just simulating right
Mm-hmm.
there for the video.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was hard drive activity for the large 10 mil LED. So
And doing that with an Arduino, you could use a static load to get that simulation to go correctly. So that looked.
Let's go back here. Beyond the drone footage. What else did you want us to share in here, Vern, that you had? Oh, this is the original.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's the video just showing me. I figured out a way of getting it to actually output something to the logic board of the original tachometer that would actually throw it to a certain. I never could get any consistency from it, which is,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But basically, I was using a library for piezo tweeters to actually send tones to a tweeter. And yeah, it was. It would have been cool to do it this way, but it would have been a pain in the butt.
Damn it! I could use something like this on the build I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing this.
Let me get out my Arduino stuff here.
Honestly, I don't really have room for it though. I've already started everything, but I'm looking at this going, oh man. Vern, would there have been like a better tachometer to use to get more accurate, accurate reading from like the analog needle style tack?
I had never actually even seen inside of a tachometer until that, so I wouldn't know of any particular brand. If we had a forum out there that focused on PC modding.
Well, we got the mod too.
There's that.
I think you would pretty much own this realm though, skill.
Yeah, it's I think there's probably somebody out there that's figured out a tack that's good for this just through gaming rigs, because that's part of where I found some of the information that I used to do what I did.
Mm-hmm.
People had built racing simulators and actually built a car seat and got a gauge cluster out of a car and done all that stuff. And that's where I kind of got an idea of how to get the needle to move. But then we just went the route of LEDs, which I thought looked a lot better anyway. So
here's Vern doing RGB before RGB was cool. This is too.
That's 2012. That's just something I did for my friend's son. He wanted RGB LEDs, so I bought 5 meters of RGB LED instead of, and I did it for like a quarter of the cost he would have paid to buy a kit that was already. Right. I've still got probably, I don't know, 3-4 yards of that stuff.
Vern, show off. Can you show off? Do you have any videos of the custom PCB boards that you did on your channel here, or is it just photos that you have? Let me see here, man.
Oh, well, there's the jaded PCB, the one I was telling you about earlier that kind of...
What was the theme they were going for? Just kind of...
Lots of green. It was a very green case. I have another video. I don't know if this one shows it.
You had done a PCB board that was like your most in-depth one that you'd ever done, a custom one. I don't think it was this one. It was something that was really intense for like the design. I don't remember what it was. I think it was blue.
You thinking the Dragon Meter?
No, not the Dragon Meter. It was something for somebody else that he'd done that was really intense.
I've done quite a few things. I've got like the Project Biggs I did. I can't remember who I did it for.
Maybe that was it.
But it was, let me see if I can pull that up and then throw it here. and it was basically two double-sided boards because of, and this was a long time ago. Like, let me look at the date on these photos. This was from 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pretty early into doing custom boards. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can see that looks fairly simplistic, but that's
Mm-hmm.
the opposite side of that board. You can see
Mm-hmm.
the stuff at the top there, and that's the other side. And I had to do this, let's see, Bionics, built for Bionics, Project Biggs.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. And that board was actually really big. That was like a 5x7, but it was a matrix of LEDs, and I was using a PIC controller. This is the first ever, microcontroller I ever used.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this was that, and it was basically two boards, like up at the top right there, and to the right hand side there's a socket, and that's how the two boards were mated together. So, and then I don't know if I actually, yeah, there you go. And
Mm.
at the time, that was one of the most complex things I'd ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I've done stuff since then that was quite a bit different, but I actually have a video here. Maybe. Holy,
Right.
wow, that's loud. Let me see if I can share this. This media player. Back that up, and this will kind of show what it did. And you can see the scrolling effect. That's because the way this worked with so few connections to that board for so many LEDs is it would actually sweep like a TV progressive scan. So it would light up, one row at a time, but it would do it so fast that it just looked like a solid image. And the point of this, like right now, it's just going through a startup sequence, I believe, if I remember correctly. But the point of this is he wanted something to stick in the front of a case that looked like the old LED panels
Star
in
Trek
the old,
or something.
in the old movies where the LEDs were just randomly
Yeah.
blinking all
Yeah,
over.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally the Enterprise, man. I was just
Yeah,
thinking that. I was just totally thinking that. There was some other project that I've always wanted to do, or like the Bat Cave control panels.
yep.
That kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much kind of what he gave me to go from, and then I ended up coming up with that, and that was also one of the earlier ones that I actually put a bunch of graphics in behind all the circuitry,
Hmm.
kind of just isolated it so where you could actually still see what it was, but
So Vern, people can still contact you today to do this type of work.
it's hard for me to do it without having a good place. But now I kind of have my own house, and I could reset up.
I'm
If
sorry.
I could. I've actually still got everything I need. That side of the chemicals that I need to actually do the etching. Um, but it would be something I would love to do again. It's just finding time with family and work and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that echoes with all of us, and I think that's also a big reason why it was really hard to pull a lot of you guys from Pimp Rig that I reached out to through Facebook. Is that these guys are all fathers now, families, and they don't have that hobby time like they used to.
Yeah,
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 that's a
that's
respect for you of turning it into a full-time job, Bill.
Yeah, yeah. So I need to keep the interest going so I can get the bills paid. Yeah. But like I'm looking at this stuff that Vern's done, and what's going through my mind is, okay, what's an opportunity to do something again with Vern, you know? Now, what did that do? That was just a hard drive activity board, or?
this was some dragon meters that I made. Like this was the first one I done this size, and that was made to fit in a cheap tech dragon door, so it would
Mm,
light up through the vents that were on the
yeah.
sides. And then the second one I done had the rounded top, so it actually went all the way around the top. By the way, just for visuals, I'm actually demonstrating this with my hand, so yeah, like you guys can actually see me. Um, but yeah, that was pseudo surface mounted, so I was using discrete components, but putting them on surface mount esque. And yeah, put some clear coat on the board after we were done to keep it from oxidizing because, as we all know, copper looks like crap after a few weeks of being handled.
Hey, let me ask you this in regards to that. If somebody, what's a good cure to remove the oxidizing? What do you do on copper?
You know, it's not hard, or it's not hard to remove it if you don't have a bunch of components on the board. You can just steel wool it off, or you can even use something like Brasso or whatever. If you do have a lot of, like if it's a circuit board that's got raw copper on it, like this, if it hadn't been coated, you could go back with Brasso and stuff and clean it off, but then you have to wash it off really good, get all the, because Brasso leaves a bunch of black stuff all over the place. It's not,
Brasso, do you use like a cotton cloth with Brasso?
yeah, cotton cloth or Q-tips or something, just to sit there and polish around on the copper and get it shined back up. It works. It's just a pain.
Yeah. What about, is like Scotch-Brite a bad idea?
Like Scotch-Brite pads?
Yeah.
That's what I used to use to actually clean them up after etching them. I don't know if you remember in my video, I had the rust-colored stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to use that to take because once I would do a board, it would look like, come on, it'd look like this, and it would have toner and Sharpie, the darker stuff Sharpie, because all the toner didn't stick, and it would look like that. And then I would use Scotch-Brite to scrub that off, and it would polish the board up really nice. But yeah, I don't think I have any pictures of anything that was.
Here, I've got the video, and look at me, I'm trying to imitate Jesse James here. What year is this? 2000. Let's see here. We'll skip ahead to the steps. So there's your old logo, dragonmods.net.
Yeah. Hey, look at that.
There you go.
It's all the stuff I've been showing you.
Yes. Didn't show that one though. That one. And explain to everybody, what was the Dragon mod meter?
It was a hard drive activity meter. Basically, the harder your hard drive was working, the higher up it would go on a 10 LED scale. And if you ever watch your LED on your case, it kind of gets a little, one little strobe every once in a while is kind of dim. The harder it's working, the brighter it gets. And it just used that on a opto-oscillator to kind of put more voltage to a linear, or not a linear, decade counter. And yeah,
I can't remember what the chip it was, but
it was a LM.
higher the frequency, it would just light up another leg of the chip.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It was a LM 3914.
Dude, do you see how many views this video has?
What's that?
How many views the video has?
Oh, geez. 147,000.
Is that email still good or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So anybody watching, if Vern has time, you want to talk to him about a quote, use that email.
Yeah, I've actually had people contact me as not too far back, maybe 2-3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I quoted him a price, albeit it was in regards to how, I don't have a lot of time to spare, especially when I was planning a wedding.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I'm just explaining how there's a lot of different methods you can use for etching a board, and I started using this method because it wastes far less of the ferric chloride.
I'm going to say the most common one that people used to use at that point, didn't they have to have like a heated tank with a water just to keep it going, to keep the fresh material being removed?
You basically had to have a tank. They were usually kind of narrow, and they would have a agitation via a bubbler in the bottom, but you couldn't just go down and get a aquarium stone because the ferric chloride would eat it up and dissolve it. You basically had to have a specialized tank that had a channel that was actually just part of the acrylic to put the bubbles up through there. You had to have a heater to heat it up for a nice quick etch. It was just a pain in the butt. It was messy too because the bubbles are making the ferric chloride, pop up, and it was just a pain. And now, albeit this can get messy. Let me tell
Yeah.
you,
Hence the gloves.
I ruined plenty of clothes using that stuff. And yeah, once it gets on something, it doesn't come out. But this method, I only have a small little bit in the bottom of that little cup. Whereas if you use a tank, you're using half a gallon. And the more copper you etch into it, the more it gets the copper stays in it, in the ferric chloride, so the less effective it gets over time. But no, this method worked really well, and you just brush it with the sponge, and you just keep brushing over it. You don't have to scrub or anything like that, but you can see along the right hand edge there that it's actually starting to already pull the copper off.
What do you use to drop the schematics? Do you use some type of software, or what do you do?
I have used a lot of stuff over the years. Eagle made it was like Eagle CAD made a really good software, and now you can get it for free for up to a certain board size. I'm not sure what size that is, but it's a pretty good bit of software. But I started using some. It was called Sprint Layout 5.0. It was a German company, and it was a lot more reasonably priced than Eagle at the time, so I bought it, and it worked really well. I learned to use it, efficiently, and it worked really well for doing circuit design. And I can't really think of. I've used others. I just can't think of their names. There was some Linux version that I used for a little while, and
What other ideas have people presented to you to create things like this for their PC, or have you thought of any other ideas that you never have tried?
I've done quite a few interesting projects. I've made boards that would basically power on a secondary power supply for people, that they use that for accessory stuff.
That's a great idea.
I pulled up a board earlier looking at that, and it was a power distribution board. The guy had a bunch of hard drives and stuff, and like I know Lee and Lee done it, and there's a couple other. Ultra did it, where the case had a built-in power distribution up behind the motherboard tray, so you plug in your little short power cables from your modular power supply, and then all you have is little short cables that come off of this power distribution board that goes up the back of the case. And I did something like that before that was ever even a thing, which I can show you if you would like to see.
Yeah, let's check this out.
And he was doing a World of Warcraft themed case.
Nice.
So Blizzard, if you're watching, don't sue me.
No.
But it was Wrath of the Lich King was out at the time, and that's what he wanted to use. This is the material that I use for transferring images, and it's press and peel blue. And you run it through a laser printer, and let me tell you, if you have an expensive laser printer, be careful when you use this stuff, because it's basically a very thin plastic, and if it gets stuck in there and then gets stuck to your drum, you're buying a new printer, or at least a new drum set, because well, not drum set, but the drum and toner, fuser, and all that stuff. Yep. Anyway, you print it on there, you iron it onto the board. You can use a big heat press or an iron, whatever. I usually pre-drilled the holes before etching it. It just made it easier. There I am doing the old sponge method, which, believe me, on a board this size is a labor-intensive process. This, just etching it alone, probably took me about 4 hours, just because of all the copper I had to get off of it. It was just ridiculous. And the blue PCB I had was like 2-ounce copper per inch, so it's quite thick. That was the board after etching, before cutting out the actual final size. And like I said, it was a power distribution board. The holes that are in the center in a square was basically to mount it to the side of the drive cage, because this was also to hide the side of the drive cage in the window, because as we all know, that's one of the banes of custom modding is trying to hide the crap that looks ugly inside of a case.
Exactly.
There I am working on soldering it all together.
So the single
Different,
on the
totally
side.
bad angles.
Out from 5.
What's that?
I was saying you had the single 1-pin or the single 4-pin there that's now on the bottom, going out to the 5. Yep.
Yep. It was a single 4-pin here, and it distributed to the 4 up here. And I also clear coated this one just because the massive amount of copper that was there. It just looked really good.
Yeah.
And that's the back side of it.
Nice.
And that was before this side was clear coated. The one nice thing about clear coat is all those little shiny spots and those little dots. That's the flux that pops out of the solder when I was using it. And all those go away because you can't see them. It's like putting a glass underwater. You can't see them after that. And there it is, because I put LEDs under each one of the modular connectors. And there it is, powered up. So, and that's one of my favorite things I ever done.
Yeah, I like that. You have choice of different PCB boards, like red background and green. True, besides blue, or does it always have to be blue?
I found this online on eBay of all places. I sourced materials from all over the place. I had black PCB at one time. You can get pretty much any color. Finding a source for it is hard because basically this guy worked at a place that done PCBs, and he would take the scrap, cut it off into nice square pieces, and sell it. He had blue, black, reds, all kinds of colors. PCBs are usually green because of the silk screen they put over, or they paint them. I also got to where I was dyeing PCBs. The PCB for the Drougnor, the tachometer, was white or cream colored, and I went to the store and bought a bottle of vinyl dye, like for dyeing T-shirts. I call it vinyl dye. It's for dyeing T-shirts and stuff. And if you heat that stuff up to, I want to say it was about 190 to 200 degrees, just below boiling, because you don't want to boil that stuff. It's nasty. And soak the board in it for a little while. It'll actually dye the PCB. Depending on the type of PCB, that blue stuff wouldn't dye for nothing. Just it's the type of material that it is. It's impermeable.
I was just thinking, Drew, did you have any, while you were watching that, did you have any ideas of what kind of a custom board you would want made?
I'm still... I still want to have a full length up the entire... Of course, I have my monster PCs. I don't like tiny cases. But a Dragon mods that isn't limited only to the 10. If you could stack a few of those chips together and get a 60 or a 70 high resolution kind of thing, that would be, for me, that would be ideal and really piss off my wife, because I'd start up a movie and just completely blind out the entire room.
Well, it's doable. The LM3914 is stackable.
Yep.
But if I were to do that these days, I'd probably go the route of an Arduino-based solution and single addressable LED strip.
Yep, that way you can just have the one string without having to do any soldering on the wires. All you're doing is changing the, which frequency it's being touched at.
Yeah, and basically you can individually address the LEDs, and the cool thing about that, and I know this kind of goes, a little sideways from totally fabricating everything, but then again, you can buy those LEDs. I could actually make the PCB and solder them to it, because you can buy the LEDs by themselves. But the cool thing about that is you can get those in RGB, so you could actually reprogram it to be any color you want. You could program it to go, from green up to red as you go up, or you can have it all blue, whatever you wanted.
And actually with that, because I've got an 8-drive array on 2 different systems, so I've got my primary media server, and then nightly it backs up over to the other machine. You could then address each drive has its own color. and the colors will blend properly across too when you do that, because the Arduino chips are stupid good at that kind of math.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. I wanted to do something like that with my media center actually, because I built a media center for my massive collection of stuff, and also all my archives. That's how I managed to keep up with all these pictures over decades here. Yeah, I didn't realize I had pictures that were this old until I started digging again. But I built a media center for all that stuff, and Phil helped me with it. I used a Node 304. I know Bill's familiar with those.
Yeah, fractal design.
Yeah, oh man, the first MITX case that they came out with that became pretty much impossible to find. You did that. You had done it in blue with pinstriping.
Oh,
I
that's my
tried.
baby.
Yeah, I tried to find one of those because
Yeah.
it held so many drives. In the Node 304, it could hold 6 drives, but that wasn't enough. I wanted more, of course.
That's interesting. In the chat room, Jake Legg asked, "Will micro ATX ever get better case choices? ITX form seems to have only really nice choices." Was that ITX or micro? That was ITX, wasn't it, Vern? You were talking
It was
about?
an ITX, yep.
Yeah. That's a good question. I guess I think Jake, look at Corsair, look at Fractal Design, and Fantex. I don't think. Boy,
What?
any mic. That's a good question. I can think of some ITX cases that are pretty slick. Micro ATX itself, well, Micro ATX / ITX. That's.
And I'm the person to ask about that, because for
Well, Mosquito's our ITX Micro ATX expert. That's a great question for him.
this is my multi-drive solution, is a 4 and 3, and I'm actually looking at replacing that with a couple of 5 and 3s.
Well, that's Cooler Master, right?
Yep, that's Cooler Master, and IcyDock is the other big brand.
Yeah.
I want IcyDock because they've got the hot swap.
Yeah, that was the same as the Pimp Rig.
Right.
Those get a little spendy, don't they? What?
You're looking at full
100
something.
Yeah.
Most places have them now for 70.
Yeah.
You got to be careful though. I've run into a few of those that the price point was really good. I used to work in a computer store, by the way, for those of you who don't know, and we had a lot of problems with I/O errors and corruption of files because they fill substantial. We've had a few from IcyDock for some of their lower priced models, and we had a lot of I/O corruption because of connections that they made whenever they were inserted.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't a good connection. So spend a little bit more. It's not that much more. Spend a little bit more and get a good one.
Spend a little bit more, and you also want to have a decent controller card that separates that from the main board.
Yep.
I haven't taken a look at their site in a long time. Just because I've just been an SSD guy.
I love my SSDs for sure.
Oh God, yeah. It was something that we saw coming down the line. I remember the experiments that I can't remember who it was, but somebody got one of the old PCI cards that you could put a little RAM array on it and run a virtual drive off of that card instead of off the hard drive.
I think Phil had one of those.
It
was basically volatile memory because it was RAM, but it had a battery backup, and as long as your machine was running, it was fast too. It was really stupid fast.
Yep. And it was one of those ones, if I remember correctly, you could set up in boot. It would recreate whatever you had on that drive array for you. It would just take a little extra time.
Yep. But once you were running, it was fast.
Yeah. And now that these the 5 1/4 inch drive that'll hold up to 8 laptop drives.
Jeez.
How do you like your raid, baby? Yeah, raid prawn. Yeah, these are nice. They're very well made. I'm just gonna take a peek at the price. What's the price here for this one? Buy it now. You got to go to a retailer. Doesn't say.
A lot of Amazon has been doing really good at making sure that they're not just giving out the old failing and dying models. You can actually get the new models at the because you see there they've got the MSRP of 150, but they're selling it for 90.
Yeah, Vern, do you remember at all like which model was that had the issues?
Honestly, no. I didn't really mess around with too much of that side of it. I just know that I was, around whenever they had to troubleshoot it a lot. I did more of the solder work and stuff like that.
This is kind of cool. This is kind of Borg-like.
Nice.
They make one of those that's
look at that
literal alone E-SATA. So you get that exposed cage look sitting on your desk.
That is cool. I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
See, as you can tell, I spend a lot of time window shopping.
Look at this, guys. Cool. So this is an external then, or wait?
Oh, you can get one of these. That's an external.
Okay. Is that? I presume that's all steel then, the construction of it.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I always get a kick out of those, you'll see some of these ones, not Icy Doc. There's another brand that they act like they're the big dollar value ones, and then you look at the things like I want to make sure that the LED, you've got your error function on there. So if your RAID controller throws an error code, it'll actually either blink the light at you or give you that red light. And so you look at some of these places where they're like, oh yeah, it's only $200 for our drive array, and only give you power light, and that's it.
This is pretty slick, though. Icy Doc. Icy Doc.
Okay, I like that, where it's just the handle that attaches to the front.
Yeah.
You just go straight into that little dock.
Yeah, I've only got like 3.5-inch drives in my possession, and they're like all from older builds, or I'm like, I may need to access this archived content at some point in my life.
Well, Bill, I've got you covered. I've got about drives kicking around.
Well, your current build of the Fantex Lux, how many 3.5-inch drives are you going to put in that thing?
That's going to have 8 3.5 inches, and the boot drive is going to be SSD backed up by a laptop drive, terabyte laptop drive that the actual game storage is going to be on.
Mm-hmm. And Moss is a big RAID guy too. He likes to build his RAID systems. And Kyle over in the UK. Yeah, it's cool.
Well, I guess, as far as it goes currently for long-term stability, you can't beat spinning disk. But eventually they're going to be, I know that they're working on the flash drives to get that kind of long-term stability going. I'm trying to remember which college it is. There is Cambridge, I think it is currently working on a flash memory that they've had over 200 million cycles with no failure at all.
There was, speaking of Pimp Rig, well, we've kind of derailed from Pimp Rig, but we're doing just what we did on Pimp Rig, aren't we?
Yeah, I was about to say, this is like what it was like.
We're reliving Pimp Rig. We should pull up the Wix caffeine machine. I'll pull it up. That's on the Modzu, and Droog had went into the archives of web.org or archive.org and pulled up everything so we could transfer Wix's work log over to the modzu.com.
Yeah, and I accidentally shut off the Modzu a couple of times because places like ThinkGeek got a hold of the link and went, hey, this is awesome. And
oh, that's right.
nailed us to the floor.
Yeah, we got the server just got pummeled.
Wow.
Let's see. Yeah, Vern remembers. What was Wix like, Vern? Did you ever talk to him a lot on the forum?
Wix, not too much. He's part of the reason I found PC or Pimp Rig. Because I seen his work log for the caffeine machine.
By the way, everybody, that is an Inwin tower before Inwin was doing wicked tubular welded chassis and tempered glass cases.
Yeah.
Inwin of yore, right there.
And there you go. There's that pencil sketching that I was talking about.
Wow.
Oh, he was doing metal breaking on his desk.
Yeah, Wix. He's one of those people I really wonder. You know what? We should look on. We should look on Facebook.
I actually did contact, or I sent a contact out to him, but never got a response.
That's that seems to be the general reaction, dude. Is these guys kind of disappeared?
Oh, let me take a look back through my. Because I reached out to him and Zenzo the same night, and it was just a few months ago that Ben finally logged in and checked his messages. Oh, how far back did this go?
I envy these people that don't check Facebook but maybe once a week, if that. I can never get away with doing that just because of how many inquiries I get. Oh.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that I use it as a communication tool and AWOL LAN, I probably wouldn't be on on Facebook as much as I am.
Time suck.
Yeah, I love how he put the carafe heater up in the top too.
Mm-hmm. Vern, do you like your coffee?
I love my coffee.
What is it about coffee? How many cups of coffee? Because I want to know if I should feel guilty or not. How many cups of coffee do you guys drink a day?
My wife.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. My wife found me an 18-ounce mug, and I'll have 3 of those a day.
Okay.
On a light day.
Yeah.
I have kind of went back and forth. I'm a bit of a coffee snob. I won't drink drip coffee. Will not touch it. My pleasures are espresso. And recently I've started doing cold brew. And if you know anything about cold brew, it takes a long time, but oh god, it tastes so good. Smooth, less acidic. But it takes about 20 hours to make 48 ounces.
But you can double that up by mixing it with water, and it's gorgeous.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about a 2 to 3 to 1 ratio, but it's so good. I actually have some going upstairs right now. But I do have a espresso machine at home too, and I love my lattes. And I don't care what people say. It is a manly enough drink whenever I put 8 shots in it. Just saying.
Oh, God.
I'm not going to complain.
I used to work at a coffee shop running the steam press. I know.
Yeah, I would say I've probably had 16 to 24 shots of espresso in one day on average. So,
do you guys? For me, and I'll probably have like 5 cups. Your average coffee cup up from like early morning from like 6:30 on up until like 11 or so, on and off while I'm working. And do you guys feel like around like 2 o'clock or between 2 and 3 you need that extra oomph over the hill? Like, all right, I just say I'll make a fresh cup. I feel like maybe I'm relying on coffee too much to keep me alive during the day, keep my brain active, and then it's like that I need that final over the hill just to make it through the rest of the afternoon.
Caffeine hangovers are a murder, dude. I'll
Oh,
agree with that.
Yeah, yesterday morning I woke up and my head. If somebody hadn't put a nail through the side of my head, it would have been probably less painful. It's because I hadn't had coffee in a little while. It's my weekends have been taken up by decorating and taking stuff up to the cabin for the wedding, and I just kind of forgot to drink coffee that day. Next
and
morning I paid for it.
and this is why, like back in the days when we were on Pimp Rig, there wasn't coffee shops around every corner like there are today. So that is why they're everywhere, and like they had opened up a Caribou Coffee a couple blocks from my house, and that was like a godsend. And I'm like, I don't smoke, so I'm not buying a pack of cigarettes. I don't really drink. I'm not buying beer every other night, but I treat myself some afternoons. I'll treat myself to one big vanilla white mocha,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like $6. Am I
Yep.
crazy?
You got to treat yourself, man.
I'm not. I mean, well, you think about like cans of pop. It's better than having cans of pop during the day.
Oh God, anything's better than that. Oh yeah, we could have a whole episode on that. High fructose corn syrup is the devil.
Yeah.
Oh, the stupid things I've done to my body in the years of working on computers between Mountain Dew and cigarettes.
Oh man.
God.
Yeah. 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 I find that they're nice, Vern.
That's some of my cold brew.
I wish I could have a cup right now with you.
Well, the thing is, if you sweeten your coffee normally, with cold brew, you don't want to do that at first because that when you drip brew coffee and you get that burn, that bitterness, which I actually like because I'm just weird that way. I like a burnt toast flavor to my coffee sometimes. But that's why I like Dunkin' Donuts so much. I don't know what it is that they do to their coffee other than torch the hell out of it, but there's a burnt toast flavor on the back end that I just really dig.
So you just have it black, just black.
Black with like 2 or 3 sugars, just enough, and it's a large cup. I'm not like putting 2 or 3 sugars in a tiny cup, and just enough to give a little flavor to it, but not overwhelm your tongue with sugar. And first time I had cold brew, I was expecting, okay, it's going to be the same thing, and so I put the same amount of sugar in, and it was just like drinking a Southern sweet tea, only a coffee flavor.
Yep.
And so you drink it straight, well, not even straight, because again, to make it properly, you should be cutting it down on average by half with straight water. And it's just so sweet to the tongue as is that it's an entirely different drink.
Do you get a nice caffeine buzz from it then?
God, yeah. Especially if you got it. If you drink that cold brew straight, you're gonna be wired.
Yeah. Vern, are you sometimes waking up at like 1 or 2 in the morning, like because of that coffee?
No, I've kind of started regulating myself, and I use it to get myself up in the morning because my new job, I'm waking up at about 4:30 in the morning. But about midday, I have to start cutting myself off, and I usually just take about a 24-ounce Contigo mug, of that into the into work, and I make it strong. I'm probably cutting it less than 50%, but I kind of have to regulate myself. Otherwise, I would be finding myself getting up in the middle of the night, heart probably pounding out of my chest.
Yeah. I've had that even later than 2 or 3 o'clock, and it's harder to fall asleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
I can't drink anything heavily caffeinated. I think it's around 1:30 or 2 is my usual cutoff.
Yep, that's about mine. Otherwise, nope. It's bad news for me anyway. Yeah. But speaking of bad news, I have to run, guys.
That's right. we just that's cool, man. We broke a record for the Hangout. We've never done a 2-hour one, but it was awesome just to BS with you.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to join you guys again. Maybe sometime in October after I'm married.
Your life.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure. And again, anytime you guys want to chat, Pimp Rig, modding in general, I'd love to get back over there and see the shop. It's been too many years.
Right on, man. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking now. I mean, you reinsert the seed about custom PCB boards. So, yeah. And then of course, if any type of custom electronic work for my builds, I've always called upon Vern for help with them. So,
yep.
Yeah, Vern. Thanks, man. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll close out the Hangout. Could you hang just for like another minute?
Yeah.
Okay, Vern. Drew usually closes us out, and thanks everybody for watching.
So, folks, thank you for letting us indulge in our little trip down through memory lane. But if you can go ahead and find us at www.themodzoo.com. From there, you'll also be able to reach out to our Facebook page, which is The Mod Zoo. On Twitter, we are at The Mod Zoo, and we have a Google Plus, which is that, plus The Mod Zoo, trying to keep the same name across the board. But as I always say, man, you've all got that one thing that really irritates you. You find it, you cut it up, you paint it, you put lights on it. You have a lawnmower that you want to be able to use at night. You throw some high-intensity LEDs on that sucker with a battery pack. I don't care what it is. Just get out there and you go mod something, would you? Have a good one.